Hello and welcome to Bite Size 365. My name is Pam DeGraffenreid. I am a Microsoft MVP, and this is.
Hi, I'm Heidi Jordan. I am also an MVP for business applications.
Awesome. So today we're going to talk about Microsoft Forms and, Microsoft List Forms specifically. So, really excited to hear all about it. Heidi's going to walk us through it.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to my M365 roots because, being a SharePoint girl living in a Power Platform world, I get excited when there's announcements around M365 stuff. So today I want to talk about Microsoft Lists and the new Forms experience in particular. So let's actually just take a look, and I want to share some things on the screen here. So looking at, first of all, if you don't know what Microsoft Lists is, let's go there real quick so we can demo this. So I'll hit the waffle, more apps, and then you will see the little icon for Microsoft Lists. And what is a list? A list is actually just a place to store data. So generally people use things like Excel, some sort of tabular data storage. That's really what Microsoft Lists is kind of an electronic data storage system that allows you to store data and then enter the data in a nice form experience. So this is my Microsoft List landing screen here. I'm just going to actually create a new list so you can see the process. So let's click on new list. And the beautiful thing here is that they don't leave you hanging. They give you some options of, some templates that you can use. You can create, well, you can start from scratch if you want to. You've got a blank list. You can also do something from existing. So if there's already something that exists out there, you can copy it and make a new list. You can also do it from Excel. So like I mentioned, if you already have an Excel thing that you're tracking data in, you can just do the from Excel and it will bring all your data and your columns in, and then you'll have your list to work with in SharePoint there or in Microsoft Lists in the app. I haven't really played with that CSV option much, so we're going to skip over that. But the nice thing here is about this templates. So they've got some prefab templates that you can use, or you can actually bring your own templates in from your organization. So in this, the other thing that's drill a little further into this is that there's actually, you might see some like repeat items here, like content scheduler and travel requests. That's because there's two options. So the travel requests and then the one next to it here, travel requests with approval. So that actually has an approval flow built in. So I will use that one because then you can see some of that additional integration that is built in. So when you click on that, what that's going to do is it's going to actually pre-build some columns for you. So we've got, for example, our trip title, the reason we're traveling, the requester, destination, etc. It even brings in a little bit of list formatting. So you can see the various statuses are different colors, which is a nice built-in feature. And then, so now I'm just going to go ahead and use this template. The travel request with approvals list, change the color of the icon, and then it already chose the airplane for me since it's the travel list. So then this option here, save to, so I can save this to my list, which essentially is saving this list on my OneDrive to the recent sites, and then that will actually share it out to SharePoint. And then you can really send that list to others and interact with that list with others. So if I'm creating a travel request list, I'm probably going to want to put it on a SharePoint site to share with others, but I'm just going to leave it on my list for now. So let's go ahead and create that. That should just take a second here. I do have a backup one in case this doesn't. There we go. All right. It's usually pretty quick. All right. So that's all the build here. So now let's actually look at the new forms experience. So I've got my list here. As I mentioned, it brought in a bunch of columns, but if I did nothing and no customization to the form from here, if you click on this add new item, this is the form out of the box. Form meaning this is what you fill out to get your data into the list. So let's just put a sample one in there. I'm gonna go to Las Vegas, my favorite place to travel. We're gonna go to the Power Platform Conference, the community conference in September. So we'll put that in there. And then you can enter who's going on this trip. This is pulling from Active Directory, so it's pulling the names that are in the tenant here. And I mentioned this is Las Vegas. I'm not gonna fill all of this out, but I can fill out the details. You can see the formatting that's in there. And then I can click save. And then that just puts the data in the list for me to work with. So you'll notice it comes in as not submitted because it's got that approval behind the scenes. But what if I wanted a better experience for this? What if I wanted something that's a little more user friendly? Like this list item form is pretty blank, pretty ugly. So that's why Microsoft introduced the new Forms experience into lists. And if you've used Microsoft Forms, Pam, have you used Microsoft Forms before?
Oh yeah, I've used Microsoft Forms.
Yes, probably. I think most people have. So I think that's why it's really nice that they integrated Microsoft Forms into it because people are familiar with that. So
Right.
if you click on this Forms here, then you can click on the new form. And then that brings up the actual, this should look just like Microsoft Forms because that's what is powering this back end here. So now my form has a nice look to it. So I can still I can give it a title actually, which I couldn't do before. So I can do travel request form. I could even do a description like fill this out when you need trip approval. And then over here on the right side, you can see these are all the fields that are on your form right now. If I want to reorder them, I can just actually drag and drop, and then you can see the fields move around. So then additionally, if I click on the field titles, I can change the display name of the field title if I wanted to. And then as a description, I can add a like, please give this a short name because it's the title field. I can like here I can choose there's the multi-line so I can see what kind of field type it is. So this one is a multi-line text. So reason for travel, I can make it required if I want to. And I'll see if there's any other additional options. Not really on the multi-line. Then I can do, there's things like requester, etc., start and end date. So I was trying to look for one that had a choice field. There we go. So then here you can have your choices. You can change the formatting of those. So if I click on this little easel here, it'll give me some additional options for formatting. If I wanted Alaska to be a different color, I can change that. And I think that is all the options that are there for those choices. But it's nice to add those descriptions because in the prior form designer, it's really just a title and then fill it out. Like there wasn't really much space for you to give a description. And if there was, it was actually below the field, which is a little confusing. So I can say, choose your airline. All right, so then I got my form all built here. If I want to hide a field and I don't want to have them fill it out, I can just deselect. Like maybe I don't want them to fill out the estimated hotel cost. Maybe I'm gonna, when this form comes in, maybe that's gonna be a calculation, and some flow is gonna run and go do some calculation and repopulate that on the list for me. So I could hide those so that the user doesn't have to fill those out. A couple additional options here. There's themes. So there's a couple built-in themes. I would say it's pretty limited at this point. Excuse me. I don't know if they're planning to bring in additional branding options on these forms, like if you can bring in your own custom palette. I'm not sure if that's where Microsoft is going with that.
What happens when you click create your own style?
So that one, I thought that's where that was coming in, but it really just
Mhm.
gives me some additional options.
Oh,
And then
okay, I see.
this theme color thing, I've noticed all this does is really change the buttons. So if you see this tiny little date picker,
Oh,
this date picker changes colors as I change these options. So I don't think it's not real robust, but I still do like the nice gradient backgrounds. I like the bubbly feel of the form. I think it looks pretty
yeah,
nice.
absolutely.
So that's the themes option. And then the only other option here you have is the ability to turn on and off responses. So I can turn this off and then no one can respond to my form anymore. So this is nice for like, I think of like SurveyMonkey or something like that. If you're, corporations sometimes use that to send out employee surveys for 2 weeks or something, and then they want to go ahead and stop the responses. This is a really easy way to do that. Is just turn off the responses, and it'll even tell them that they're not accepting responses at the
Oh,
time.
that's awesome.
And then you can add in, yeah, and then you can add in your own confirmation message there. Going back to that responses for a second, what I would like to know, and I will figure out and maybe follow up, is can we set this automatically? Like, meaning, is there a field in the background that we could leverage with like Power Automate to connect to it so that we can say, after 2 weeks, turn this survey off or something like that. So
Oh, that
I'll get
would be
back to you
nice.
on that. Mhm.
So let me ask you a question. Do you know what that user experience is like if you are not accepting responses?
I think it just
Like
when
if
you hit the
you
link, it goes straight to that page that says, "We're not
Okay.
accepting."
If you're on the list itself, can you still add items?
That's a good question. I would
I hadn't thought about it
I would
before.
think so. I would honestly, I would think that you'd still be able to submit the item. You just can't use the form, is my
Okay.
guess. You can't use this new form experience. So, good questions. We got the form all built. Let's take a look. Let's preview it. So now this is what my form looks like versus that white one that we saw before. You can see that I have my description here, and then you can, just choose all the fields and then click submit, and it should give me, yeah, my confirmation message there. So then when I go
Excellent.
back to the list, let's just refresh, and then that record should be there. So that is the new forms experience. If you need to get back to that form, you really just click on forms, and then you can see it here. And then if you want to send a link to someone, you can get the link here. And then this is also where you can duplicate and edit, etc. So I won't go too in depth in that, but what I want to point out right away is one limitation of this is you can only create a new item form. So what that means is that when I come over here to edit this, and I click edit, it's going to open this in the basic form, the SharePoint form experience. So that's a limitation right now that you can't create a pretty edit form to go with that data. But otherwise, what do you think?
I love this. One of the things that I like about this is it sounds like, and if I understand this right, you can tell me maybe. It sounds like if you create a new form and you share that link out with other people, anyone can fill it out and they don't have to have permissions to the list. And that is something we were really missing in SharePoint.
Hmm. That's how I understand it too. Is that yes? To reiterate, you can send a link just to that form, just like that's how Microsoft Forms operates too. Really, so they're only really getting the link to the form, and then the data is being pulled into the list for you to interact with.
Yeah, I think, well, I know so many people who are using Microsoft Forms and then they have a Power Automate to send that information into SharePoint, and this bypasses that whole process.
Yeah,
Um,
the flow that to connect those two in the past was not fun sometimes based on the field types. So this has come a long way for us.
yeah, but crucial, like, because you had to do that almost. I mean, I feel like most of the time, like I needed to get in the SharePoint. So
Hmm.
that solves that problem. Um,
Yep, I agree, and I like that this is Microsoft Forms because, like you said, a lot of people are already using this. They've already seen this interface, so they really don't notice any difference between submitting data to Microsoft Lists or SharePoint Lists now, and
yeah,
then
the
Microsoft
adoption is
Forms.
going to be so easy between the two of them. And even better, this is already available in GCC. I was so excited. Usually we have a really long time between something when something comes out and when we get it in GCC. Microsoft is they're doing a great job of getting stuff like this to us faster. So super happy about that.
That's great. Well,
I know it.
that's all I got for lists and forms. So check it out if you haven't already.
Awesome. Well, this was really great, Heidi. Thank you very much.
Thanks. See you guys
And
next time.
yeah, bye-bye.
Do you want to start us off again? You always start us off. You do a good
Yeah.
job. We'll do 40 then.
Okay.